Hello dear watchers, welcome to my video on Stimmy songs. I've talked about stimminess and stimming before, but in case you haven't read my blog, stimming is something that autistic people, and others, but it's particularly important to us autistic people, do because it's super gratifying to us from a sensory perspective. The word stim is a shortening of self-stimulation, which is actually not a euphemism for masturbation. Stimming often involves repetitive motions. Stimming can involve any of the senses: gustatory, olfactory, tactile, visual, auditory, vestibular, kinesthetic, etc. I tend to stim by flapping my hands, a common stim, smelling my favorite perfumes, and, of course, listening to stimmy music. What different autistic people find stimmy varies wildly. Something that one autistic person finds stimmy could be unstimmy or even distressing for another autistic person. I personally have a really hard time describing why I find certain sounds and music stimmy, but I will try to do so for each song. It's also hard to rank stimminess because sometimes I'm more in the mood for certain stims than others. As such, the songs in this video aren't ranked. I'm listing them in alphabetical order by band or artist name. There are 15 songs on this list because it was hard as hell to narrow it down to that, and I would have had to make some unbelievably difficult and arbitrary cuts to get it down to 10. One more thing, I have kept it to one song per band, otherwise this list would be 80% Spiritbox songs. One more thing, I decided not to use studio versions of these songs because copyright claims are not what you want when you're trying to use YouTube as a second income stream, so you're going to be hearing live versions. Well, except for the songs that I couldn't find decent live versions for, or the songs that straight up don't have the stimmy parts in live versions. I don't know if there's a Jewish prayer for please don't let me get a copyright strike, but yeah, I really hope that doesn't happen. With that said, let's get to the list. Dancing Through Sunday by AFI. Some of the songs on this list are stimmy through most of their runtime. Some of the songs on this list are not stimmy for the majority of their runtime, but have a part that's so damn stimmy it gets them on this list. And one of the stimmiest things a song can do for me is have a shredding guitar solo. Jade Puget doesn't solo much, but when he does, he plays some of my favorite guitar solos, period. Dancing Through Sunday has my favorite Jade Puget solo. That blistering solo is just like candy for my brain. It's both deliciously melodic and shreddy as fuck. Jade is not good at mixing music. I would know. I am also terrible at mixing music. I put the vocals too far in front while Jade does that with the guitar, but put a guitar in that dude's hands and he will write some of my brain's favorite guitar licks. The guitar solo is the stimmiest part of Dancing Through Sunday for me, but it's not the only stimmy part. Sometimes screamed vocals are stimmy for me. This tends to be true of Fry screaming, with some notable exceptions. Most significantly, Masha screams vocals. I think she does false chord distortion, but of course I can't know that without her undergoing a laryngoscopy. Davey Havoc has one of the stimmiest screams I've heard, especially on Sing the Sorrow and December Underground. There is no sung pitch in his scream, just overtones, and that gives me chills in the best kind of way. That's especially true of this line in this song. On the Rocks by Amaranthe, the Swedish metal band, not me. One of my favorite stims is Happy Flapping My Hands. I also distress flap, especially when startled, but I definitely flap when happy or excited. This song has the perfect tempo and rhythm to headbang and flap at the same time, especially during the chorus. The rest of the song makes me want to dance, and dancing can absolutely be a stim. It is for me. I've always liked dancing for that reason, although I probably balter more than I dance. It also has, you guessed it, a guitar solo. It actually has two. quite as stimmy as Jade Puget's solos, and I'm not sure why, but they're still brain candy for me. Maybe if I knew more about the guitar or music theory in general, I would be able to tell why I prefer Jade soloing to Olaf Mørk's, but as it is, that's all I've got. Sorry. I also have a lot of fun singing along to Elise Reed's part in this song. Singing is one of my favorite stims. I sing to happy stim, I sing to self-soothe, and I sing because I would rather be singing than not singing. I know a lot of music fans turn up their noses at la-las, na-nas, and doo-doos, but when nonsense syllables are done right, I find them a lot of fun and, yes, stimmy, to sing. Domination by BAND-MAID. Oh yes, BAND-MAID! Longtime readers of my rock, roll, and stim blog will know that a band with a lead vocalist, who primarily performs in a non-English language, has to be really fucking good before I'll listen to that band, because lyrics are so important to me. BAND-MAID is really fucking good. Misa, the bassist of BAND-MAID, made the number 2 spot on my favorite bassist list, and I often find kick-ass bass lines stimmy, but as I've already talked about Misa's bass chops, I decided to pick a BAND-MAID song that's stimmy in a different way. Stop me if you know where this is going. Yep, this song has guitar solos. 3 of them! They're just the kind of holy shit, how are you doing that? Lightning quick shredding that I find stimmy. There's also a nice guitar and bass groove in this song that I also find really stimmy. Guitar solos are often stimmy to me, but guitar grooves can be stimmy as well. Holy Roller by Spiritbox was cut from this list because I've already talked about Spiritbox so fucking much on my Rock, Roll, and Stim blog, but guitar grooves like the ones in Holy Roller make the pleasure centers in my brain light up like a Catherine wheel. I actually had a really tough time choosing which BAND-MAID song made this list. The runner-up was Dice because the bass line and lead guitar line are both brain candy for me. But I already shared that song in my blog entry on favorite bassists, so I decided to pick a different song. Dice is still stimmy as fuck though, as are, if I'm honest, most BAND-MAID songs, especially on their album World Domination. Saint by Blackwater Drowning. I almost cut this song from the list, seeing as I've talked about Blackwater Drowning quite a bit on my blog, but this is one of the only songs on the list that I find stimmy because of the drums. In my favorite EP's blog entry, I said this when discussing Blackwater Drowning's EP, Delusionary. I want to give a particular shout out to Blackwater Drowning's drummer, Chris Peavy. I know fuck all about drums, but I do know that the drumming on Delusionary, and all of Blackwater Drowning's work really, sounds very complex, and it's also so stimmy. What can I say? I love that double kick thunder. Chris's drums also always sound so crisp and precise. I can't imagine the talent it takes to play like that. Having now heard every song by Blackwater Drowning, including all of the songs on their debut LP, Sonder Satori, I can now say that Chris's drums are stimmiest for me on Saint, especially that intro. Okay, it's actually a close call between the drums in Saint and the drums in the song Mortal Coil. But I would be remiss if I didn't also mention the kick-ass shredding guitar solo in Saint. solo actually leads into the bridge, which contains some of the stimmiest drumming in this song. Amaranthe, you might be saying. Are you just picking Saint because it's about Extion hypocrisy? As surprised as I am to say this, no. It's that drum intro and that guitar solo. Yeah, Saint is my favorite Blackwater Drowning song, but it's my favorite Blackwater Drowning song because of how stimmy it is. Also, this isn't related to stimminess, but Morgan Mortality is voice goals. Both Morgan and I primarily false chord scream, so she gives me hope that one day I'll be able to sustain screamed phrases that long. ULTRAnumb by Blue Stahli. I don't think I've discussed Blue Stahli on Rock, Roll, and Stim before, so let me introduce the band a bit. Blue Stahli is an American electronic rock project by Brett Autry. The project has been around in some form since 1997. There exist 10 Blue Stahli studio albums, but only 2 of them have vocals. I haven't dug into Blue Stahli's instrumental stuff much, but I probably should, because the right blending of electronic elements with rock elements is stimmy as all fuck to me. I don't always like synths in rock music. In fact, I find that they clash in some cases, but whatever synth sound Brett uses in Blue Stahli is brain candy for me. Also, remember when I said in the prior section on Domination that guitar grooves can be stimmy to me? Yeah, this song has stimmy grooves for days, especially during the instrumental sections. I also love those little stuttering whispers of... And the vocalist's fry scream also has that amazingly overtone-rich quality to it that I find stimmy as hell and jealousy-inducing, as I can't fry scream. Honestly, this song has almost no elements I don't find stimmy. It's Stim City for me. Period. The end. Moving on. City of Sin by Escape the Fate. I bet I'm getting a few funny looks for this one. Escape the Fate, really? The band whose song Zombie Dance is on my Halloween playlist, but even I admit you're not missing much if you haven't heard it. Well, Escape the Fate gets a lot of hate for their use of electronic elements, pedestrian lyrics, and generally sucking. The last 2 are fair criticisms, but I've grown out of criticizing rock bands simply for using electronic elements. Whoever plays the keyboard and produces the electronic elements for Escape the Fate often does so in ways that I find stimmy as fuck. The way the lyric outer space gets chopped up in this song is particularly stimmy. I've also mentioned how much I like dancing, and how I can find dancing very stimmy. Well, it is hard as hell for me to listen to this song and not get up and move my body to it, especially when that guitar solo comes in. Anyway, I rarely find heavy music that I can dance to, and when I do, it tends to be stimmy. There were actually a few other tracks off of Escape the Fate's self-titled that also make me want to dance, but I ended up going with this one for the list because of that guitar solo. Ivy and Wine by Glass Cloud. Oh, Glass Cloud. Maybe one of these days I'll stop being sad that Glass Cloud broke up, and their phenomenal guitarist Joshua Travis now plays with that trashcore shit heap and Muir. Today is not that day. In any case, here I get to talk about how shredding solos and groovy chugging aren't the only guitar sounds I find stimmy. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure how to describe the other stimmy sound the guitars in this song make. I'm going to call it Genty Metalcore Guitar Tapping, or DMGT. I'm not sure if that's anywhere even in the general area of the correct thing to call it, especially because several of the bands whose guitarists play DMGT aren't metalcore bands, but it's whatever Josh is doing here. The intro is Stimmy too. So is the guitar work in the verses. Really? Josh's guitar work with Glass Cloud is rarely not Stimmy for me, which is a big part of why the album The Royal 1000 helped get me through grad school. At the time, I wondered why I was turning to that album so much. Most of the other albums I was listening to that helped me deal with grad school stress had relatable lyrics about depression and remaining strong in the face of overwhelming bullshit. Glass Cloud's lyrics are cool, but abstruse. In retrospect, listening to The Royal 1000 was soothing to me because of the wealth of Stimmy guitar sound. It was honestly hard to pick just one Glass Cloud song to put on this list. There's an incredible solo in If He Dies, He Dies, for example. And She As Well and Nothing Can Be Ill has some amazing brain candy tapping during the verses and outro. Oh my. But ultimately I picked Ivy and Wine because basically every second of it makes me want to happy flap. Do you understand now why I'm so damn disappointed that one of the stimmiest guitarists I've ever run across now plays guitar parts that I could probably reproduce for Immure? Yes, I will probably be whining about this on my deathbed.
Thank you guys!
Grace by Lamb of God. I don't listen to a lot of groove metal, and I should probably fix that because it's stimmy as fuck for me. I did go through a phase of listening to Five Finger Death Punch because I liked Jason Hook's guitar work, and I thought they were going for parody with their lyrics. Oh, early 20s Amaranthe, you poor naive thing. Or maybe I shouldn't bother because I'll have been spoiled by how amazing Lamb of God is. Grace is not my favorite Lamb of God song, but it's probably the stimmiest Lamb of God song I know. The guitar line that plays throughout most of the song's runtime somehow manages to be both groovy and shreddy. It's one of my favorite guitar lines in anything, period. When writing this section, I managed to not constantly stop and flap along with the song, but I wasn't able to stop nodding my head. A good groove is so stimmy to me. And there's even one of those soaring lightning speed solos that I love so much in this song. It's fairly long. It's hard for me to get tired of stimmy shredding. It's not my favorite solo ever or anything, but it fits super well with the rest of the song, and it's still brain candy for me. I also love the drums in this song. Remember when I said during the section on Saint by Blackwater Drowning that Saint was one of the few songs that got on the list because of drums? This is one of the other few. I know fuck all about drums, so it's not like I can say, Chris Adler's diverse and interesting tom and cymbal placement really brings a nice flavor to the song, or something eloquent like that. Well, I do like the way he uses cymbals. According to Wikipedia, he developed his own crash cymbal called the 12-inch Soundcaster Custom Distortion Splash, which might be what I'm hearing. Mostly, I just love that double kick thunder. And I will definitely be checking out his new project Firstborn, especially considering he donated sales from the song Anthem to the NAACP on Juneteenth. Desire by Meg Myers. You may know that I have a blog called That Weird Ace Woman, which is about asexuality. I am, in fact, gray asexual. Part of my asexual experience is that I rarely like songs about sex, especially ones that prominently discuss sexual attraction, because they remind me of how not being able to experience those feelings makes me feel subhuman. So how do you get me to like a song about sexual attraction? You give it a blistering guitar solo. Wouldn't you? I do love the guitar solo in this song, but it's the guitar going like the guitarist is slapping the shit out of the strings after every that I find the most stimmy about this song. That guitar sound is so heavy and deep. I originally thought it was the bass making that sound. I do also find the bass in this song stimmy. It's present in the mix and has a nice growly tone to it. Even though Misa of BAND-MAID could probably play it with her toes in her sleep. This song's groove is so infectiously brain candy for me that I headbang and happy flap along to it even though the lyrics make my skin crawl a little bit. Dig by Mudvayne. Something I say about Mudvayne is, this band has one of the best rhythm sections in nu metal. I'd almost say one of the best rhythm sections in metal in general. It's too bad about everything else about them. Honestly, my favorite way to enjoy this song is by watching a bass or a drum cover on YouTube. And if you can't understand the lyrics that Chad Gray is screaming, I don't recommend looking them up. Drums can be stimmy for me, see Saint by Blackwater Drowning and Grace by Lamb of God. And the drumming in this song, especially the intro and the chorus, and also that relentless double kick in the outro, is an absolute stim fest. I especially enjoy watching drum covers of this song that involve the drummers filming their feet, because I like to see the double kick thunder happening. Also, when I said one of the best rhythm sections about Mudvayne, I didn't only mean the drums. As I mentioned, I like watching drum and bass covers of this song on YouTube, and as much as I love the drums in this song, the real star of the stim show for me in Dig is that bass line. At one point in the first verse, it becomes this festival of ridiculously complicated tapping that is straight up brain candy for me. The bass also makes some really stimmy sounds that I don't even know how to describe during the intro and the bridge. I think it might be called a flick? If you're watching this and play bass and know what that wicked attack technique Ryan Martini is using is called, please comment and let me know. And then the outro is also completely ridiculous in a way I don't even know how to describe. And this is after watching several bass covers as research for this video. I honestly almost cut this song from my list because of the lyrics, but that bass part is just so damn stimmy. So it makes the list. Barely. Bloodline by Northlane. Many metalheads turn their noses up, scoff, retch, or otherwise express displeasure when a band uses electronic sounds in their music. Now, I don't dislike those sounds on principle. I only dislike them when I think they sound like they clash. Northlane, on the other hand, has a knack for using electronic elements that I find stimmy, if subtle. Well, not always. There's a synth line in the Northlane song Clockwork, which almost made it on this list. It's not in any way subtle, and I love it.
Elvin, let's go!
I don't listen to Northlane a lot. They're one of those bands that makes albums I mostly like, with the occasional song I absolutely adore. Bloodline is one of those songs that I absolutely adore. Not only could I have written the lyrics, pretty much every musical element of this song is stimmy as fuck to me. It's actually hard to describe further why this song is stimmy. Previous songs were stimmy because of parts. This song is stimmy because of the whole, the gestalt. The only possible exception is the percussion in the intro and first verse, which I can identify as an individual element that I find stimmy as fuck. Bloodline is also a damn good song. I should really listen to Northlane more. The Way the News Goes by Periphery. Periphery is one of the most consistently stimmy bands I listen to. I could have picked almost any song off of my favorite Periphery album, Periphery 3 Select Difficulty, for this section, but I decided to go with The Way the News Goes because my usual Periphery stim is DMGT, but in this song it's all about the drums, and I didn't want this video to be an unending parade of, yep, DMGT again. Anyway, the drums in this song are stimmy as fuck during the chorus. I'm not sure what Matt Halpern is doing exactly. I think it might be blast beats. It sounds like multiple parts of the drum kit are having the shit beaten out of them in a straight 16th note pattern, but it absolutely makes me happy flap along with it. If you're a drummer and you're watching this, please let me know what this technique is called, because I'd love to know. I also think the way the vocal line fits in with the drum part is also a factor in making me happy flap. The two just line up with each other in a way that makes my brain happy. There are also some quick little fills that Matt plays in the verses that are stimmy. I also want to talk about Spencer Sotelo Scream. I think I've mentioned that Fry screaming can be stimmy, in addition to being jealousy-inducing. Spencer Sotelo has the kind of overtone-rich Fry scream that I find stimmy. Although, if I'm going to discuss the stimmiest Fry scream I've heard, I'll have to talk about... Empire by Red Handed Denial. Yep, Lauren Babick. She's not my all-time favorite screamer. That honor goes to another Lauren Kashan, but Lauren Babick has possibly the stimmiest Fry scream I know of. She has no sung pitch in her Fry screams, it's all overtones. And for whatever reason, my brain seems to release floods of dopamine when I hear it, and this is a very screamy song. That little growl Lauren does before she starts with, "I'm in the Empire business," literally gives me chills. Her lower pitch screams in this song also make me happy flap like I'm trying to fly away. I picked this Red Handed Denial song for this list not just because of Lauren's fabulous screaming ability, but because of the guitar shredding in the verses. and just before the antepenultimate repetition of the chorus. There are also some really stimmy guitar sounds in the outro that I'm not sure how to describe, aside from being genty. They do sound kind of like the guitar is saying gent. And unless I'm mistaken, which is highly possible, there is also some pretty impressive bass playing during the outro that I also find stimmy. There's really not much about this song that I don't find stimmy. Electric Cross by Spiritbox. Yeah, okay, I cut Holy Roller from this list because I talk about Spiritbox too much. But I was unable to kick Spiritbox off the list entirely, even though I already discussed Spiritbox in practically every Rockwell and Stim blog entry. I like Periphery, but Spiritbox is in many ways the band I wish Periphery was. Spiritbox is stimmier to me. I like Courtney LaPlante's vocals better than Spencer Sotelo, and Spiritbox's songs don't have proggy digressions that bore me or take me out of the song. This is personal preference. I am not saying proggy digressions are bad, they're just not my thing. Because of the extreme stimminess of Spiritbox's extensive use of DMGT, I had an absolute hell of a time choosing a Spiritbox song for this list, but holy shit do I love the DMGT in this song, especially where the guitar goes apeshit while Courtney sings a haunting, mostly one-note melody over it. That combination is just mwah. It's really because of those sections when Courtney sings etc. that I chose this Spiritbox song. The first has stimmy DMGT, and the second has genty chugging and other cool guitar noises. And during that second section, there's some amazing counterpoint between Courtney's haunting singing and her fantastic scream. It's a total stim fest for me. The instrumental outro also consists of that DMGT that I love so much. I could same-song this song for days. It's that stimmy. Feast of Fire by Trivium. Finishing off the list with something other than DMGT. The stimminess in this song for me is all about that bass. Real bass, not Meghan Trainor's ass. Fuck that song, it just widens the parameters for objectification. In the verses, Paolo Gregoletto sounds like he's slapping the shit out of his bass guitar in the best kind of way. Not only is it a really cool bass line, its tone is extremely satisfying and stimmy. I've talked about Paolo's bass work in my blog entry about my favorite bassists. Paolo was number 8, but I don't think I mentioned the sheer stimminess of it, especially in basically every part of this song where I can hear the bass clearly. I think my favorite parts are here. And here. Okay, and here. Okay, and here. But that's also because there's some really cool shredding guitar harmony at this part. And I can also hear that stimmy bass. This section is one of the stimmiest parts of a song that I've included on this list, which makes this a good place to stop, I think. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. For those of you who are new here, I'm a blogger who writes about asexuality in the blog That Weird Ace Woman, disability justice in the blog This Is For You, Carrie, and my special interest in rock music in the blog Rock, Roll, and Stim. And I have started turning my blog entries into YouTube videos. Every blog entry of mine is going to get made into a YouTube video the following month. For example, my July 2023 blog entry was a rock, roll, and stim entry on songs that I find stimmy. In August of 2023, I'm now releasing the corresponding YouTube video on that topic, and I'm also writing a This Is For You, Carrie blog entry. In September 2023, the This Is For You, Carrie blog entry is going to get its corresponding YouTube video, and I'll write a That Weird Ace Woman blog entry, etc., etc. Eternal thanks to my wonderful Patreon supporters, Ace, Atia, Emily, Hannah, Max, and Sid. It's only $1 a month to be as cool as them, and you'll also get perks like being able to see blog entries and videos 2 days early, and being able to vote in polls on my next entry topics. Thanks for watching. Bye.